Hey friends, so I want to talk about some propagations that I've been working on. Um, this is just something that I saw in one of my gardening groups, so I wanted to give it a shot, right? It's a way to propagate succulents and succulent type plants, but it's basically one of those set it and forget it type things. Since I have done this method, I mean, it works for the most part. It doesn't work for some of them, or at least in my experience, it didn't work for some of them, but some of them had great success. So we're going to take a look at these, and we are also going to talk about other different ways of propagating succulents. So if that sounds good to you, then just keep on watching. Okay, so what I did was I just took this old Tupperware bowl and I put plastic wrap over top of it, and then I put these rubber bands around it to hold the plastic wrap on it because I don't have press and seal. Probably gonna start buying press and seal though because there's just so many more benefits for it. So basically what you do is you just put the plastic wrap on top and then you poke holes in it and then you stick your succulent leaves in that hole. So I have this tray right here, and it's not the cleanest. This is one of my watering trays, so my bad. But what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take the rubber bands off, and then I'm gonna show you guys what it looks like. And I'm doing this very carefully. But the idea behind this is that it's going to, the humidity will help the roots come through. So basically you just put enough water in it to just be on the bottom to create humidity, and then the plastic wrap helps like that condensation, like the water cycle and all that. So this succulent did not do anything. So it's calloused over and it's hard. It's still a little squishy, so if I put it in some moist soil, it might have some life back in it. So actually, let me get a piece of blank paper to hold up with all of these so that way you can see the roots better. And some of them will have gotten a little mushy, but that's normal. And I will talk about ones that I tried propagating that did not make it at all. So one of the ones that did not make it at all is this one. So this used to be a string of dolphins. Did not make it. And let's see, I'm trying really hard not to, because one of these guys in here is actually really long and has a bloom on it, so I don't want to mess it up. Okay, so this guy, we're just gonna go ahead and pluck him out. So he did get some roots. Where's my paper? So he did get a little bit of rootage. I don't know if you're gonna be able to see it. Yeah, so there's his root. I probably can stick this in, again, in moist soil and see if it does better with that. So that's another propagation method. It's probably the more popular one. This was a succulent. I don't know which one, but it was. This guy did pretty good. So I think I still have the succulent, the original one that it came from. Let me see. I might have gave it to my mom, to be honest. My mom does a lot better with succulents than I do. But this one has an itty bitty baby on it. Little itty bitty baby. So again, I can stick this in moist soil and it will continue rooting and growing. By the way, this has been set up for about 2 months and it's taken way too long for my liking. I think that the moist soil propagation is a lot quicker. So this is a baby that I took off of one of my succulents, like it was a pup. Oops. and it definitely popped out some good roots. So I could put this in like a little 1-inch pot and then have a little plant. So that's exciting. This guy has a little itty bitty root. That is the same type of plant that I just showed you. And same here. This is the same one. This one did not get any roots, but the plant itself is actually in still pretty good condition. So I could probably put the 3 of those in the pot and then it'll send out the good energy throughout. Let's see. I don't know what type of succulent this is. I can't remember. I'm pretty sure I ended up killing it, but it's hard to tell because it's a fuzzy succulent to begin with, but it does have some little roots there, but this is what the actual leaf looks like. It's a fuzzy succulent. So again, I could probably stick that in soil and get better results. This one did really, really good. Oof. So this is from the same plant, and the roots are much more clear. So what I'll probably do is just like this, and I'll pluck them in the same pot. All right, so the last one actually did super, super well. Super, super well. So I don't want to mess it up. Let me see if I can find something to tear the plastic a little bit more around it, because it has a long baby on it. Let's see if that was enough. Nope. And this guy right here is the whole reason why I decided to do this video, because I needed to get it out of the container it's in. So this is what it ended up looking like. So it has a growth on it that's about 2 inches long. So what I'm gonna do is I'll just put this guy, like I'll put the leaf with the roots in the pot like this, and the leaf will eventually die off and become part of the soil and give nutrients to the new plant, and then this new plant should thrive. So that's exciting. So out of all of the ones that made it, that one definitely did the best. I'm gonna get rid of this because this is gross. So out of these, this one definitely did the best. I would say next up would probably be this guy and this guy. And I had so if you remember right, I had it done like this with the rubber bands, and each rubber band section had about 4 different plants in it. So this is what's left. But the best way to propagate, in my personal opinion, is to do the moist soil propagation. So that's basically, if a leaf falls off your succulent, hold on, I'll just show you. So this is kind of like my succulent propagation container that I have. It does not have a drainage hole in it, but it has really good well-draining soil in it. It stays moist for the most part, which is why I use this for propagation. But I've got some burro's tail in here that have rooted in here. I've got some spiky boy cactuses in here. I've got a variegated jade. I've got an origami plant in here, and I've got just random petals. So anytime a petal falls off of my succulent, which I'm just gonna show you what I'm talking about. So I'm actually, this one is a little loose, so I'm just going to pluck it out. So I barely had to pull on this guy. So what I'm gonna do is I'm actually just going to pluck it in the side of the soil right here, and it'll sprout roots. So let's take a look at some of the ones that I have in here to see if they've sprouted roots yet. So this guy has little tiny thorns in it. I wonder if I have a pair of tweezers. Probably not. It's fine. I'll just have pokey fingers today. So this guy's been in here, this guy's been in here for probably 2 weeks, and it's already got a good root on it. So this is definitely working out for him. So I don't want to disturb the root. So what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna make a little hole with my finger, and I'm gonna poke him right back in there and let him do his thing. Yeah, this soil is very coarse. And then this guy was put in at the exact same time. And I'm not gonna knock the dirt off, but yeah, it has a good root. So this has been about 2.5 weeks. I would say that this mixture is mostly peat moss. It has sand in it, and it's got some perlite, worm castings, but yeah. And then this is my jade, variegated jade, which has got some roots. This has been here for probably, I would say 2 weeks also. So it's definitely got roots. So like the burro's tail, if you, the petals fall off, like it just happens. So if a petal falls off like that, you can just put the petal back in the soil and it'll root and grow another branch. Let's see, I'm curious about this guy. This is my origami plant that lost a petal, which I loved that succulent, and it looks like it's trying, so I'm gonna put it right back in there. And then I just mist the top of the soil every once in a while. It's nothing fancy. So this is basically just like my succulent propping area, and then as they develop stronger roots, I will give them a new home. So put this guy in here. And this stays on a shelf that I have underneath of a grow light. It's not in direct sun in the slightest. It's just tucked away in the back of my shelf, and I just check on it when I do my typical plant checks. So I'm just gonna load this container up and let these guys just grow together. And that's how I do that. And I will pot these guys up for you guys next. Oh, I also have succulent and cacti and aloe fertilizer here. This is from Cute Farms. I ordered it off of Amazon. I'm just gonna do like half a pump, or I guess that's a little bit there. I'll just do that. And that's the food that I'm gonna give them. So I will be right back, and I'll have a couple 1-inch pots to put these little itty bitties in to pot them up. Okay, so I have a new container here because I want to use the smaller one for the watering purposes. But I went ahead and got 2 1-inch containers of my soil mix that I mix myself, and yeah, and the water that I'm going to use, and I'll talk about that too. So my soil mixes consist of plenty of perlite, activated charcoal peat moss, and worm castings, and I like well draining soil, especially for my succulents. So we're just going to put these in here. What we're going to do first is we're going to pre-moisten them, and I have this little squeezy tube thing. Again, I got this off Amazon. This is just really handy when watering my succulents because a lot of succulents don't like their leaves to get wet. So this is really easy to get. So for example, if I'm not going to bottom water, which I typically do, I can get this underneath of the petals really, really easily. So what I'm going to do, it also gives me a little bit more control. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to stick this in here, and I'm going to pre-moisten the soil. And I typically use terracotta for most of my plants just because I like the fact that the terracotta wicks away the moisture even more, and it also absorbs some of the moisture, so it'll slowly release some of that moisture back into it. So But what I will do is, so I'm letting the water drain out, and I'm just gonna leave this inside of this to let the terracotta in the soil absorb a lot of that moisture. So what I'm gonna do now that the soil is pre-moistened, is I'm gonna take I don't wanna use this, I'm gonna take a pen, basic pen, and I'm gonna poke holes in the soil to plant these. And I want this to be a decent sized hole, just because I wanna make sure that I'm getting the roots down in there and that they're happy. So we're gonna do this, and we're gonna do this. Boom. And when you're propagating, you just want to remember that you need to keep the soil evenly moist, and it should be good to go. So those are gonna go over here, and then this guy, so I'm gonna do this, and I'm gonna use this pen to kind of push the base petal down, and then I want to lightly cover it with my soil mix. So again, this leaf is probably going to disintegrate, but we're getting a brand new plant out of it, so that's exciting. So hopefully this guy straightens out, and then I'm actually gonna put these in a sunny spot in my office, so that way they can be a little bit happier. So you've heard me say bottom watering a couple times, so I want to show you with a succulent that needs watered. Actually, this one does not need watered. Hold please. So this isn't a succulent, but it does need watered, and I do the same with these for the most part. So this is a peperomia. This is a peperomia ribble frost. It's the start. So I'm just gonna put this in here, and what I do is it's going to absorb the water through the bottom, and I'm going to put a little bit on the top as well. This is a really dense soil mixture that they had this in. So if that's the case, and so you can see how the water's just sitting on the top. So it's a really dense soil. So what I'm actually gonna do is I'm going to pluck this out of the cup. You can see the roots, and I'm just going to do this and let it absorb through a good soaking. And I'm gonna spray down the sides because, oh yeah, this line is thirsty. So I'm just gonna do that, let it soak for maybe 10 minutes, and then I'm gonna put it back in this little pot, and yeah, that's gonna be the gist of it for bottom watering. I like to call them butt chugs just because it's funnier, but it's a good old butt chug. And one way you can tell that these guys need watered is the stems will start to droop like this. But yeah. So basically, that's all there is to it with the propagating of succulents. So I didn't even realize this was going to be a propagation video, but if you guys would like to see other propagation videos, make sure you comment down below with what you would like to see me propagate. If I haven't done it before, I'm happy to give it a shot. So let me know. And also, make sure you hit that like button, hit subscribe if you enjoy my content. If you have any suggestions for videos on what you would like to see in the future, make sure you drop those down in the comments as well. So like, comment, and subscribe. I know 3 things is asking a lot, but you know, once you hit that subscribe button, then it's only ever 2 things after that, right? So the type of water that I use is I use room temperature filtered water. You don't want to use cold, you don't want to use warm or hot, because it can actually shock the root systems and it can piss your plants off. So yeah, don't do that. But that's all she wrote, guys. That's it for this video. I hope you enjoyed it, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.